This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm here with Dan Sullivan of Rosehall Run Wines in Prince Edward County. How are you today, Dan?
I'm doing great, Jamie. How are you?
Very well, thank you very much. Now, I just thought we're in your marvellous new facility here in Prince Edward County. I'd like to ask you, how did you first get into wine, Dan?
How did I first get into wine? I think that I got into wine being a food and wine lover, and I have to blame my business partner now, Cam Rest, and my brother-in-law, I think that a lot of people, when they get into wine, they sort of have an epiphany wine, and he was the guy that poured me my first epiphany wine. It was a Volnay, and I forget what vintage it was and even the producer, but all of a sudden, bing, the light went on and I kind of got it. And so whenever he complains about how much money the winery's costing, I always kind of turn it back on and say, well, you got me started on this. So, and that was probably about 23 or 24 years ago.
Now, you started as an amateur winemaker, did you not? And then you moved into where you are today.
Yes, so I started making wine as an amateur winemaker in 1995. I was fortunate enough to luck upon Gunther and Mary Funk, who I consider my mentors. They've retired from the professional industry, but for those of you that don't know, they were one of the founding partners in 13th Street Winery, which is a fabulous boutique winery in Niagara. And along the way, I managed to meet people like Donna and David Laley, and another very influential guy who you don't hear much about, but his name is Gerald Close. And Gerald Close was, to me, the unsung third musketeer of the Inniskillen group. He was the young guy that did all the heavy lifting in the vineyards while Donna and Carl went out and represented the company. And I believe that he still is with Vincorn and Inniskillen.
I think they still label
guy.
under Close Vineyard for a couple of
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
And I think that they may still be doing a vineyard designation, but Gerald was kind enough to show me a little bit of the ropes of how to grow grapes, and also was kind enough to just shoot me a couple of bushels of fruit from that farm when I was an amateur winemaker. And I think between that and the Funks and a number of other really, really good producers down in Niagara, I just had some incredible stuff to work with when I was an amateur. And
you actually won quite a few awards as an amateur winemaker, did you not?
So,
yeah.
And really, I attribute a lot of that to the quality of the fruit. So that was the first lesson that you learn, is good wine comes from good grapes. And, it sounds like one of those mantras that you hear people repeat over and over and over again, but honestly, it is true, So.
Now, did you come from a winemaking background?
No, so I have a fairly decent science background. I have some, university education and training in that regard, and also worked as a lab technician when I was younger and stuff like that. But really, the wine part of it is really kind of only scientific to a very limited point, and then after that, it kind of goes off in another direction. I kind of joke that it's 90% auto mechanics and 10% Vincent Van Gogh. So, anyway.
Now, how did you find yourself in Prince Edward County, and how did Rosehall Run come about?
Well, originally, Lynn, my wife, and I had been looking for some property down in Niagara for a couple of years prior to that, and just kind of seeing what was out there. And we couldn't really find anything that sort of suited what we were doing, and it was just online and through a variety of people. I think it was at Don Eastman's vineyard, actually. I ran into Deborah Pascas and Dan Taylor, and they had talked about Prince Edward County, and then one thing led to another, and I started going online, and I finally decided to come up and take a look, and that was the long weekend in August of 2000, and we nearly turned around on the Saturday morning because the traffic was so bad. Fortunately, we ended up pulling up into what was at the time Peddleston Wines, where I met Mike Peddleston pounding T-rails on a hot August Saturday morning. And we got to talking, and I took one look at the soil that was underneath my feet. I looked at my wife. I looked back down on the dirt, picked my jaw up off the ground, and 3 months later, we put an offer in on the property next door when it went up for sale. So, and the rest of this is history. So.
What would you say the biggest challenges were for you with regards to making wine in Prince Edward County?
I think that the biggest challenges out of the box was learning how to deal with winter. I think that one of the biggest challenges right now tends to be a little bit more economic insofar as our yields are extremely small here in Prince Edward County. So being able to make the wines in a, because we have such small yields, the cost of growing grapes is extremely high here. And so in the current climate that we're in, as far as wine pricing and the economics of wine, whether really we're awash in wine, I think what it is really being able to carve out a niche where you can make the business profitable.
And what would you say differentiates County Pinot Noir and Chardonnay from Chardonnay and Pinot Noir anywhere else?
I think that there's a real vividness to the fruit that we grow here, and we're just tasting some barrels there, and I think that was evidently and amply on display with that. And so I think there's that. There's the minerality on the back end. And so I think it's those two particular qualities. And there's a certain type of ripeness. We get really nice ripe flavors with what we're doing, but we tend not to have really high alcohols. And I think that, so I think that there's a textural element that accompanies county wines that makes them very distinctive insofar as they don't taste particularly alcoholic. They taste very elegant, but they still have a lot of depth of flavor. And so those are the things that I think define what we do best.
Now, Dan Sullivan, what does good food and wine mean to you?
What does it mean to me? Well, whenever I think about good food and good wine, I usually associate them with really good times. And so I think what I like to do is I like to harken back to those things. I call them taste memories, and those are the kinds of signposts in your life, at least in my life, that I equate with certain milestones and certain things, usually celebrations or those sorts of things. So when I think about that type of experience, it's never set in isolation, and it always goes with good people. So.
Dan Sullivan, thank you very much for taking part in our little interview this afternoon, and we're very happy that you're part of the Good Food Revolution.
Thank you, Jamie and Mel.